On Friday, Valentine's Day, it may not have been a St. Valentine's Day massacre, but Keyshawn Davis broke a lot of hearts on Friday night at the Garden as he stopped Dennis Berinchyk in the 4th round, taking his WBO 135-pound title. I'll have to admit I gave Berinchyk a better shot than most, but I still favored Keyshawn to win simply because Berinchyk was 36 and was a lot smaller than Davis. I still did not expect Berinchyk to get dispatched so easily, but Keyshawn Davis is the new WBO lightweight champion. He joins the likes of other title holders in the division, like IBF champ Vasily Lomachenko, who's still thinking about retirement, WBC champ Shakur Stevenson, and WBA champ Gervonta Davis. You watched the fight. What did you think of Keyshawn's performance, and how does he stack up against the rest of the champions at 135?
Well, he stacks up great, and he did great. But like you, man, I really thought Berinchyk was going to be a lot better. He's a former champ, and I thought he was bigger, man. When they got together, it was visibly, and even without the dreadlocks, he was a lot bigger. He looked a lot bigger than Berinchyk.
It surprised me too.
You know, logical thinking, a good big guy always beats a good small guy, right? So you're like, okay, well, Davis is going to win this one. But is he going to do what he's supposed to do when they put smaller guys in front of him? And he did it. He checked all the boxes, good defense, great power. And what I learned about him this time, maybe I've seen it before and I just didn't pay attention, but Keyshawn's a body snatcher, man. I never really paid attention to how good and accurate he is to the body. It's going to take him far, David. How he's going to match up with everybody in that division, David, there's only one guy I think that can beat him, but he's not going to fight him anyway. It's Shakur. But right now it's a 50-50 fight with all the champs, except Shakur. I think he's better than all of them. But Keyshawn is exciting, man, and he's here to stay.
Mark, it looks to me like Keyshawn is the guy to beat at 135. I know you think Shakur is the guy, but I really think it's Keyshawn. He has an exciting style. He can box, but he likes to put a hurting on his opponents, and that's what we've been seeing from him the last few fights. Shakur and Tank are really the only ones I expect to give him trouble at 135. But one disappointing thing I learned this weekend is that we may not see Keyshawn go for undisputed at lightweight. He said he's not interested in paying money to 4-belt organizations. He's all about big fights. But at 135, that's either Shakur or it's Tank. We may see Keyshawn possibly take on Loma if he doesn't retire. But if Loma does retire, then there's the winner of Murataya versus Abdullayev. That would be for Loma's IBF belt. Really what it looks like to me is we might be seeing Keyshawn go up north to 140 sooner rather than later. And he's a big lightweight. And I think 140, we're going to see an even better Keyshawn Davis in that division. All right, moving on, Mark. Xander Zayas got his 3rd stoppage in 5 fights versus the WBO number 11 ranked Slava Spommer. Zayas forced the referee to stop the action in round 9. I thought it was a quick stoppage, but you could see the end was near. Xander was breaking Spommer down. It may have been just a matter of time anyway, but the stoppage still felt a little premature to me. I want to say this about Xander, Mark. I know he got the stoppage, but putting power aside, right? Because that is the criticism against Xander. This young man has everything else. Defense, head movement, footwork, speed, punch selection, which I think is really important too. I really like watching Xander fight. He does just about everything correctly. And on top of all that, he comes to fight. You talk about defensive fighters like Shakur and Haney, etc. They're not the most exciting fighters to watch most of the time. Xander does not fight like that. He brings it. I'm not sure if he should jump in with the top of the 154-pound division yet. He mentioned Sebastian Fundora after the fight. He really wants to challenge him for the WBC and WBO titles. You know, Xander is highly ranked in both of those organizations, but Fundora, he's a scary guy to me. He's probably the worst matchup of all the 154-pounders. I know he's been KO'd already, but that shot he got hit with probably would have taken out a lot of junior middleweights. He's never shown chin issues before. I'm just surprised that Zayas wants to take on Fundora first. What did you think of Zayas' performance? And what do you think of the possibility of him facing Fundora?
Xander Zayas's performance was great, man. He went through the fire. Spalmer was a game opponent. He was gritty, and I believe Roy Jones has gotten everything he can out of that kid. He's not the most talented guy out there, but he's gritty, and when he lands, and he pays attention to what his corner's telling him, even during the action. At least he tries to implement what they're telling him. You can see that he doesn't land too much, but when he does land, he had Zayas buzzed a couple of times, but I really loved Zayas' performance. It took him a while, maybe the first 3 rounds, to figure him out. But after that, David, in the 4th round, my guy Zayas threw 99 punches. He repeated that in the 5th round with 72, in the 6th, 75, in the 8th, 93 punches. David, his output is big in the middle rounds, and then he makes sure to get a big output in maybe the last 2 rounds there. That is a really, really high output. It's almost a Mexican style output, but with that Puerto Rican footwork that he's got, I like him. He's strong. People are saying he's not, doesn't have power, but he's got enough, and he's strong enough, and he's long enough, and he's tough as well, man. Spalmer, another thing. How many guys are going to take those body shots? I'm really upset that the referee stopped it for him. We know that Xander's going to win, but give Spalmer a shot. These guys go through a lot just for this shot, man.
Yeah, he looked kind of upset at the stoppage, Spalmer did, and he protested a little bit. I think the biggest issue with Spalmer was that he wasn't fighting back. And when you're taking punches like that, you've got to fight back. You can't just sit there and try to let the guy tee off on you. But I don't think he was in danger of getting hurt in that moment. I would have liked to see it played out just like you.
Yeah, because he recovers great, man. I mean, he got hit in the liver, and he wanted to go down, and then he recovered, but then he got hit again. Then he was probably going to recover again. That's the best thing he does, is recover.
On the undercard also, Mark, one of PYP's favorite prospects. I don't know if we can even call him a prospect anymore. Abdullah Mason versus Manuel Jaimes. Looked to me like the performance of the night has to go to Abdullah Mason. He stopped Manuel Jaimes in 4 rounds. Mason hands Jaimes his 3rd loss, but it was his first by stoppage. Dropped him to 16-3-1, while Mason rises to 17-0 with 15 KOs. I'm really excited about Abdullah Mason. I like his attitude. I like the way he fights. He sounds like a mature young man at just 20 years old. This kid is going to be the goods. He looks like he's the future at 135. Keyshawn has already said he probably will be out of the division by the time Mason becomes a contender. But I tell you something, Mason is starting to look like a contender right now. Your thoughts on Abdullah Mason?
Abdullah Mason has me learning something about him every single fight. He knows how to fight going backwards really well. There's not a lot of boxers who know how to fight going backwards. Also, he's learned how to bait you in and use that left hook really, really well. You can't even tell when it's coming. Even as a fan, when you're looking at it, you can't tell when it's coming. The boxers can't see it. He hides it really well. It's impressive. And, what else is he going to learn? I think he's got it all now. Jaimes was really good, but he was visibly smaller. I'd like to see him start getting guys about his own size. He is probably on his last year at his weight division as well, David.
Well, Mark, Jaimes isn't too small. He's competed at 140 pounds. He went to 10 rounds with Rolly Romero, which, I mean, it's not the biggest feat in the world, but it lets you know that he can hang in there with punchers, right?
Yeah.
I think it was a good level fight for Abdullah at this stage of his career. Remember, the guy's 20 years old. He has less than 20 fights. Top Rank has been doing a good job of they always do. They have a good job of incrementally increasing the difficulty of their young prospects' fights. They build up fighters really well. Other results from MSG, Mark. Juanmita Lopez stopped Brian Santiago in the 1st round. Juanmita looks like he inherited some of that power from his father, Juanma Lopez. He dropped Santiago with a brutal right hand right on the button. Santiago never saw it. And when he went down, you could see that he wanted to get up, but he just simply could not. Also, Connor Coyle and young up-and-comer Vito Mielnicki Jr. fought to a majority draw. I told everyone I could that Connor was a live dog in this fight. It was a fairly even fight. Just about all of the people I asked at Press Row thought a draw was the right call for that fight. Thought it was a good matchup and entertaining. They need to do this once again. What are your thoughts on those two fights?
I like them both, entertaining fights. The big debut for the son of the legend. You know, Santiago didn't see it, man. He picked up his hand once, blocked one. Then the kid used his angles and he was gone. He didn't see him. He didn't see that punch come in and whack.
He didn't see
He's
it.
never
He didn't
seen
see
anything
it.
like that in his life. He's never felt anything like that in his life. I talked to him. His spirits are up now. He was obviously disappointed. But he's got other things, you know, going on. He's got to come home. He's got midterms going on, and he's got to get ready for a couple of fights already scheduled. So he'll be around. We'll see him around again.
Yeah, he's a young guy. He can bounce back from that. He's a strong-minded kid. We wish him well.
I'd like to see the Coyle fight again, man. That was an entertaining fight. I'm with you. I think it was a draw. Let's do it again. And I bet somebody in Top Rank is going to recognize that was an entertaining fight, and they're going to bring it back. I'm expecting pretty quick on that one. It was a good fight.
Yeah, I actually scored it for Mielnicki. I gave it 6-4. Mielnicki looked a lot better at 160. The move up in weight did him some good, and he may not even settle at middleweight for long. I got to talk with his coach, Ronnie Shields, for a bit, and he thinks Vito could possibly move up to 168 and eventually 175 pretty soon. So as for Connor Coyle, put up a hell of a fight. I thought he gave up the first couple of rounds, and I think that's what really cost him the victory. When he was active in the rounds, he won those rounds clearly. When he was throwing combinations, you could see he had faster hand speed, and it gave Mielnicki a lot of trouble. So I think they should do it again. We look forward to seeing if that goes down. On the zone, Arnold Barboza defeats Jack Catterall by split decision. They were fighting in Manchester, England. The scores were close, 115-113 twice for Barboza and 115-113 for Catterall. I thought Barboza's speed and reach and activity were the difference. I think Catterall waited too much in some of those closer rounds. I actually had it wide for Barboza. I scored it 117-111, which is like 9-3. Barboza used this 3-punch combination a lot, where he'd start with a jab, throw a right hand, and then end it with another jab. He landed that repeatedly on Catterall, and I feel like it really made a difference because it looks like he's throwing a combination. He's just landing a jab, right? But when he's throwing it in combination that way and cleaning up with the jab, it looks more impressive than simply just landing a jab. Barboza won this title, Mark. It's been a long time coming for him. With the win, Barboza has placed himself in line for Teofimo Lopez's WBO title. But with Teofimo looking to unify versus Hitchens and then possibly move up to 147 soon, Barboza may end up inheriting the full title. How did you see the fight?
Well, you know, congratulations to Barboza and his dad. It's been a long time coming. He threw 428 punches, and Catterall threw 305 punches. There was the difference. They were pretty evenly matched. And I think the best thing that Barboza does is exactly what you were talking about, the 3-punch combination, the 1-2-1. But what I wanted to point out is how ridiculously fast that one combination he throws. It is so freaking fast. It's faster than any other combination he throws. It is awesome to see. You can tell he works on it a lot. And Catterall couldn't get away from it. It was a pretty even fight, even though he threw 150 more punches. Catterall is only throwing 20 punches around. He stepped it up at the end and threw 37 that last round, but he never threw more than 30 punches in any single round. Barboza was averaging about 35 punches a round, stepped it up to about 40 punches around at the end because those are the championship rounds. That was the difference. It was very even. It was a split decision. I only think it was a split decision because it was in Europe. I mean, I clearly think he won on. I had him winning 7-5. You know, but that was the difference. And I believe if they fight again, that's going to be the same outcome. Catterall needs to step up his his output, and not rely on big punches. You got to get some combinations in there. Barboza also landed way more three punch or more combinations than Catterall did. Catterall would land one or two, and that was it. Barboza won the WBO interim world title, and it meant the world to him, man. But yeah, it's an interim title, David. But did you see how much he cared about it? I mean, this guy really loves that title. He loves that world title. It's an interim, but you can tell that Barboza's heart is in this, man. He's a good kid, and I'm happy that he got this finally.
Yeah, and we'll see. Time will tell how that's going to play out. I don't think he's going to get the Teofimo fight, but if he doesn't, then that just means he's going to get the full title eventually. Moving on to Saturday, we had Oscar Duarte against late replacement Miguel Madueno. This had to be the fight of the weekend. Originally, I was sad to hear that Regis pulled out of the Duarte fight due to a shoulder injury, but Miguel Madueno stepped in as a late replacement and really took the fight to Duarte. Duarte forced the referee to halt the bout, accomplishing what the previous opponent for Madueno couldn't, and that previous opponent was Keyshawn Davis. Duarte got the TKO versus a fighter that had never been stopped before. And Duarte has been on a nice little run since his stoppage loss to Ryan Garcia. He's an exciting fighter with power in both hands. He's fearless in the ring. He's willing to take on anybody. And Duarte says he wants Arnold Barboza next. I love that fight. And one more thing. Can we give a moment of appreciation for Madueno? He was a last-minute replacement for Regis. He took a very dangerous fight, and he didn't show up to survive and get a check. He was in it to win it, and he gave Duarte all he could handle. There must be something in the water down in Sinaloa. I tell you, man, guys that come out of there as boxers, they are something else in the ring. What did you think of what we saw from Duarte this Saturday?
Duarte's really, really good. He's very active. He throws a lot of punches, and like you said, power in both punches. What I don't like is he doesn't land jabs. Not that he doesn't throw them. He throws a lot of jabs, but he just doesn't land them. And if he's going to be elite and fight with these big guys, he's got to start learning how to land them. I mean, round one, he landed 4 out of 24. Round three, 4 out of 21. Round four, he didn't even land 1 out of 15. He's got to start landing some jabs if he's going to be elite. If he learns how to throw a jab, I think he'd be one of the top guys if he had a really good perfected jab. But unfortunately, he doesn't. He does have a lot of power and he throws a lot of punches, David. In rounds 4 through 7, he threw 300 punches. But like I said, he's not going to beat anybody. He's certainly not going to beat Barboza with that beautiful 1-2-1 combo and his footwork staying outside of harm's way. I love that fight. I love it for Barboza because it's a big name and I think he can beat him. It's not going to be easy, but I think he can beat him because Barboza, if he has anything, it's stamina and he knows how to stay away from danger. So that's a good one. And it's not going to be easy. He's got to be on point, but that's a good one for his resume. And maybe he'll start getting those big paydays.
Man, it was an action-packed weekend, Mark. Felt like I was watching boxing all day, Friday and Saturday. I'm telling you, 2025 is good. It's not over yet. On February 22nd, on DAZN, $25 pay-per-view. Riyadh season's bringing us a beauty with the Bivol versus Beterbiev rematch. We'll talk about that in another video. But 2025 is just keeping the fights coming. As always, thank you guys for tuning in with us. Don't forget to comment. Let us know what fight did you like the most this past weekend. What do you think of Keyshawn Davis's performance? Is Xander Zayas ready for Fondura? We'll be checking you on the next one. This is PYP Boxing. We are out.